Good morning, everyone. We are making sure we are good over on. We are good on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. Well, about to be good on LinkedIn. All right. Good morning, LinkedIn. We are good on Facebook. Good morning on Facebook. We're good on Rumble. Good morning. Good on YouTube. Good morning. Good on X. Good morning. Instagram. We are working and we are in on TikTok. Good morning, everybody. Tell me where you are checking in from. Pamela, good morning to you. Patriot and Forever, good morning. Alex, good morning from Philly. Shout out to Philly. Shout out to my hometown, Philadelphia, PA. The topic here today, I'll tell you all the topic in a second. Let me let the room populate a little bit more. Let me make sure my timer is on. What are we doing on time? Make sure we are starting on time and ending on time. That's what we do here. I got the time wrong. I'm gonna do this again. As y'all are coming in, tell me where you are checking in from. North Carolina is in the building. Shout out to North Carolina. Let's see. We're just getting our time set up here. What time is it? 3, 4, 5. All right, we're good. Texas is in the building. We are going to talk today about this situation with this white woman in Minneapolis who allegedly called this black kid a slur. And y'all, maybe many of you have heard about this. This probably happened maybe last Thursday is when the story, I saw it on Friday. That's when I was talking about it. And what is this? So yeah, I got the video here. So I'll cue up the video when we go to break. But what happened is this white woman in Minneapolis is out at the park and allegedly some black kid who was at the park. Some people are saying the kid was 5 years old. According to what I see on the video, that kid looks like a lot bigger than 5 years old, maybe 10 years old, whatever. He's a kid. This kid stole something out of her baby bag, diaper bag, etc. The woman got upset and annoyed at the kid stealing something out of her bag, and she verbally lashed out at the black kid, and she called the kid the N-word. And there's a white woman. She called this kid the N-word at the park. Now, some other guy, he seems like an immigrant from, they say he's from Somalia, I guess. What the hell this guy's doing in the park, I don't know, because he doesn't have any kids. But whatever, this guy's in the park as well, and he sees the situation. Has nothing to do with it, but he decides to get involved. He turns on his camera. He starts recording on his phone. And what happened, son? And he starts basically interrogating the white woman about what he heard her say while he's filming. And he's like, why'd you just call that kid the N-word? And the woman is saying back to him, well, hey, this kid stole something out of my bag. I'm paraphrasing what she said, but he's acting like that way, like an N-word, and I'm going to call him an N-word. And the guy, this brown guy, he's not black, this brown guy who's filming, he says, well, why don't you say it on camera? Why don't you say the word on camera? You said it before I started filming. Why don't you say the word now? And the white woman looks right at the camera and she says the word again. And she says the N-word with the hard ER. This is some delineation that black people want to make to try to basically, black people use this as an excuse for using the word with the A on it. And we're going to get into all of that here today. And she starts saying it with the ER. She says it a couple times with the ER on camera, looking right at the camera. This video comes out. What is it? Yes. I need your help. With what? I just need you to do something with this. Well, I'm recording right now, so you can join me here, or I can't help you with anything else. You got to wait until I'm done. You want to join me or no? Yes? Okay. You sit here. You got to be quiet because I'm talking, okay? So he films it, and this video comes out. I don't know where he posts the video, but whatever. The video goes viral, so everybody gets all excited about this. I know anything that involves racial tension, people get excited about. So this video goes viral, and this woman gets, of course, people find out who she is. They put her information out on the internet, and she's trending, and everybody's talking about this woman, and she's racist, and people are going crazy. So the woman, what she does, I don't know in what order these things happen, but what the woman does is she goes and posts a crowdfunding. I don't know if this was, I think it was Give, Send, Go. I think that's the one that's most popular right now. So this woman goes on Give, Send, Go, and she posts a crowdfunding campaign. And she says, after this situation happened, my name has been put out there. People are attacking my family. People are coming at people who are around me. I just need some money so that I can defend and protect myself. Please donate to my campaign. And a whole bunch of people started donating money to this campaign. And now the title, what I originally titled this, because I was thinking about the subject back on Friday afternoon. And I said the white woman used the N word and gets 300K, but she didn't actually get 300K. She got 500K, because the last that I heard, her campaign was at $500,000. She put I think she set the what's the word? The goal of the campaign for $1 million. Right now she has 500,000. And the whole conversation about this, the reason this is a big subject is because the situation that happened in Texas about a month ago with the black kid stabbing the white kid and the white kid dying, and that's a pending case, was that this kid's family put out a Give, Send, Go as well, and he raised about $500,000. So right now, these two Give, Send, Go campaigns are competing. One of them is they both around $500,000, both a little bit over $500,000. And what's happening is a lot of people on social media, I see a lot of people basically playing the morality card here, saying that if you give to either one of these campaigns, you're a terrible person, you're a bad person, et cetera, et cetera. And what I'm going to do is set the record straight for all of you to understand exactly what happened here, why it happened, and some more accurate ways to think about this, at least as far as I see it. And I'm the one speaking, so I don't even need to keep telling you that. So let me introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 41 books on 4 TEDx talks, created this company and this brand called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do here is we work with professional service-based entrepreneurs on systematizing and scaling their businesses up to the 6 and the 7-figure levels. You can learn more about that and working with me by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is in my profile or in a pinned comment wherever you happen to be consuming this. By the way that I do these presentations, if we'll call it that, is I'm going to give you my material. I'm on the clock right now. As you can see, I'm on the clock. I got 49 minutes on the clock for me to give you what I'm going to give you. Then we're going to open the floor up for discussion. That will usually be around the top of the hour. So right now it's 8:11 a.m. Eastern. That'll usually be around 9 a.m. Eastern. So if you have a question or comment, you can get to that when we get to the end of the hour, which is going to be at about 9 o'clock. I will tell you that today's stream is sponsored by my book, Work on Your Game. So anybody asking, what are you selling? Here's something you can buy. Work on Your Game. This is a book that goes over the entire philosophy of what my company's about, where it came from, how it started, and why we do things the way that we do. You can get this book by going to workonyourgamebook.com. So just the title of the book and the word book.com, workonyourgamebook.com. So you can get this. This book is sponsoring this stream that you're going to get here today. And I will take questions and comments, but only after I get through my material. So if you're leaving a comment while I'm speaking right now, I will not address it until I'm finished, unless I ask an actual question to the audience and I want people to put something in the comment section, which I am going to do during this presentation. So everybody got cool with the rules? Any questions? Good. Let's get to it. First of all, is it okay? Is it okay? This is a rhetorical question. To use this slur against a kid. All right, that's a question that a lot of people are asking. Is it okay for a white woman, if she's upset at some kid, to go start throwing the N-word at the black kid because she is annoyed or pissed off or angry at what the black kid allegedly did? That's the question that a lot of people are asking. Does this make this woman a terrible person? Does it make her a bad person? Does she violate, et cetera, et cetera? My answer to the question is it's a completely irrelevant question. Answer is it doesn't matter. That's the answer. It doesn't matter. Why does it not matter? First of all, anybody can say anything that they want to you. People can use any word that they want towards you. Now, granted, you are allowed to respond or react if you so choose, however you wish. So someone says something to you that you don't like, you can say something back to them that they might not like, or whatever you think they may not like. You could even get physical and violent and aggressive with them. If you so choose, you could go tell the teacher, you can go call the cops, you can go tell their boss, you can do whatever you want to do in response to what they say. The point is you cannot control what comes out of another person's mouth. They can say whatever they want to you. Now, here's the issue. Is that black people, when this whole situation was on fire about 3 days ago, The news cycle is pretty quick these days. About 48 hours, then is a new story. But a lot of black people were basically saying, I saw a lot of black adults saying this, males and females, surprisingly, saying, I wish some white person would use the N-word at me, especially the N-word with the hard ER on the end. Again, people are delineating between the N-word with the A on the end and the N-word with the ER on the end as if it even makes a difference. And we're going to get to that in a moment. And they say, I wish a white person would use that at me, because then basically they're alluding to what they would do if a white person was to use the N-word at them. And we're going to come back to that in a second. Now, hold that thought. Okay, hold that thought. Now let's get to this other thing when it comes to this N-word that black people want to take complete ownership of and don't want white people using it. And on that level, if I didn't know anything else, I would say, okay, you have this word that you like to use internally, the same way that, let's say, let me back up. You have this word you like to use internally amongst other black people, but at the same time, you don't want other people using this word, even though that you are using it amongst yourselves. Generally, I could understand that on the surface if I didn't understand the context. The same way that I heard this guy named Ta-Nehisi Coates, he said this years ago. He said that his wife will sometimes be talking to her female friends and they'll call each other bitch. And he said the same way that just because I see women saying bitch to each other doesn't mean I'm going to go address my wife or one of her friends by saying, hey, bitch, because that's a word they're using internally. You got to understand the context. On the surface, I understand that. But here's the problem. There's a problem with this when you go beneath the surface. For black folks, those of you who are black who are listening to this, even those of you who are not black, you will understand this point very well, which is we have not just used that word internally. The N-word is not just for internal use only. You ever see a document from a company that says for internal use only? The N-word is not for internal use only, because here's what we have done specifically over the last 30 years. What we've done is we have packaged, marketed, and sold the N-word to the masses of people. This is what black people have done. This is not disputable. This is not debatable. This is what we've done. We have taken this word, this N-word, that was originally created as a slur, a negative slur against black people, and we have packaged it up, we have marketed it, and we have sold it to the masses. What do I mean by this? Generally, it's been done through our music. It's been done in other ways, but generally the number one culprit, the top salesperson, if the N-word was a product that was being sold by a team of salespeople, the number one salespeople are the gangsta rappers. All of you know who these people are. These are, you can name any one of them these days. They all use it. The Kendrick Lamar to Drake to Lil Baby and whoever else the rappers are these days. The Future to going back in the day. You got the Nas's, the Jay-Z's, the DMX's, and 50 Cent, Cameron, all these rappers. Any rapper you want to name, the gangster rapper for the last 30 years. It started with this group called NWA. Literally, the title of their group was N-Words with Attitude. That was the name of their group. All right, that was Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Eazy-E, these guys, and going all the way through. Dr. Dre, Snoop Doggy Dogg, Big Notorious B.I.G., Tupac, everybody. They have marketed, packaged, and sold the N-word. Now, you may say, well, they're making music that's just talking about the community and what's happening in the community. They're kind of like just news reporters of the community. This is one of the early excuses that gangster rappers gave for their violent and often negative portrayals of black life in their music. My response to that is bullshit. And I'm a consumer of gangster rap music. I listen to it damn near every day. Actually, almost every day. When I'm working out, I have some form of it playing by some artist, maybe one of the people who I just named, and I work out every single day. So at some point, that music is playing out of my speakers as well. And while being a consumer and a fan of it, I'm also saying that the reason that the N-word has become such a popular term is because these people popularize it. And how did it become popular? Not just because we are talking it and saying it to each other, but because we sold this to the masses of people. Those artists who I just named, all of you know who they are, even if you don't listen to rap music. How do you know them? You don't know them because it's for internal use only. All of you know who these rappers are because they sold their music to everybody. You can't say that the N-word is just for us to use with each other, while at the same time you're putting it on a CD or on an album and you're streaming it and saying, hey, we want everybody to listen to this and we want everybody to buy it. Your favorite rappers are popular because one of the reasons that your favorite rappers are popular is the same reason that your favorite athletes are popular is because of how much money they make. If your favorite basketball player and your favorite rapper earn the same amount of money as your neighborhood sixth grade science teacher, they would not be as popular as they are because without the money, they are not as relevant. What makes them popular is not just that they can dribble a basketball or that they can put words together on a song. What makes them popular is that they make a lot of money for doing it. That's part of the equation, especially in a capitalistic society like the United States. So your favorite rappers are popular not because they just sell music to black people, because they sell it to the white people. So when Jay-Z puts out a song with the N-word all through it, and he's selling it not only to black people, but also to white people, now you just took a product, this product, the N-word, you sold it to white people, and now all of a sudden, not even, I'm being sarcastic, but all of a sudden, black people want to get mad about the N-word possibly being used by somebody who's not black. Well, your favorite rappers are selling it to white people. So how are you going to get mad? If I have a house for sale and I sell you my house, and then you start decorating the house in ways that are different than the way I would want to have it decorated, I can't come back and knock on the door at the house that I just sold you and say, hey, you shouldn't put the couches over there. Don't paint the walls this way. I don't like what you're doing with the front lawn. I'm looking at you like, excuse me, I bought this house. I bought the house. I can do whatever I want to do with the house. You can't sell me the house and then tell me how to decorate the house. I'm not saying, now let me be clear what I'm saying here and what I'm not saying. I am not saying that the fact that Jay-Z and NWA and Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Drake and Kendrick Lamar throw the N-word out in all of their songs, that is not me saying that means a white person can just go throw the N-word out recklessly, just however and whenever they feel like it. If you're a white person listening to this, please do not misconstrue the message. And if you're black, don't misconstrue the message. And even though I'm sure there's plenty of people in the comments misconstruing everything that I'm saying already, we'll get to them momentarily. If you are a white person living in the United States of America or anywhere else in the world, if you are of the fairer skin tone, let's just not even say white person, if you just have a fair skin tone, and most neighborhood Negroes is what I call these people. I would use a different term, but I'm trying not to use the word. Most neighborhood Negroes look at everybody as black or white. And even though I make a lot of different distinctions because I've been to a lot of places. But anyway, if you're a fairer skinned person, if you would be looked at as quote unquote white by somebody who came across you, especially a black person, I would suggest you be very, very, very careful and cautious about throwing the N-word out, especially around people who are not white, because you might say that word around somebody who does become extremely reactive and maybe even violent because you're using that word, and they have a very strong negative connotation to seeing someone who's not black throwing the word out. So that's my suggestion to any white person who's thinking about using the N-word, despite the fact of what I just said. All right, what I just said was that black people shouldn't be getting all upset about white people using the N-word because your favorite rapper sold them the N-word. Again, how are you going to be mad about it? At the same time, I'm not telling white people that this makes it okay. All right, don't go out there throwing out the N-word. I would strongly advise against that. All right, if you just want my word on that, I strongly advise against you throwing out the N-word. Now, all that being said, let me bring it back to black people, because I'm black, I'm not white. So let me hold black people accountable. This is one of the biggest problems that we have in the black community. Number one problem in the black community is lack of two-parent households. And number two problem is that lack of internal accountability. Meaning, whenever there is something that black people or a black person should be held accountable for, there's a whole bunch of black people who come rushing in, and instead of doing that internal accountability, want to start pointing and passing blame out to everyone else. So even in this situation with this white woman throwing the N-word out the way that she did, if she asked me, if she and I were just having a conversation, this woman is named Shiloh Hendricks is her name. If Shiloh, who is as white as a picket fence, was to say to me, Dre, what do you think about me using the N-word at that kid because I was pissed off? I would say, Shiloh, I understand you were probably pissed off. You were probably annoyed at whatever you think the kid did or what you are sure the kid did. However, I would strongly advise against you using that word, because there might be the wrong black person around who heard you using that word. They might punch you in your face. I would suggest you not do it. That's what I would say to her. While at the same time, I would say to the black person who would punch her in the face that if you do punch her in the face because she said the N-word, you are going to jail for battery, because someone saying a word to you that you don't like does not justify physical violence. Legally, you're wrong. Now, in the streets, quote unquote, the streets, or in a high school lunchroom, then yes, you'd be all high and mighty and you get a lot of round of applause and support. And hey, maybe you could start a Give Send Go and you could raise $500,000 for punching this white woman in the face for saying the N-word. However, no matter how much money you raise, whether you raise $500,000, $500,000, or $5 million, you still have to go to court for punching somebody in the face because of a word that you said, because the word does not justify a use of force. The only way a word can justify use of force is if you are threatening another person. That's known legally as assault, but you can't do that. Is not an excuse for you to batter a person, legally speaking, to use battery against another person. So both sides will be held accountable. That's what I would say to the white woman. You probably shouldn't use that word because you never know who hears it and you don't know how they're going to react or respond to you. Secondly, black people, Since we have packaged and sold this word, this is what I'm doing, holding black people accountable here. We can't get all upset and get your panties in a bunch, metaphorically speaking, or literally, just because you heard a white person use a word that our most popular entertainers have made themselves famous using. Now, we can't do it. We cannot do this. It is not a crime to use the N-word. The N-word is not using the N-word is not a criminal offense, no matter what color the person is who's used it. That's not a criminal offense. You can't call the cops on somebody for calling you the N-word. I mean, you can, but nothing's going to happen. The cop may say, hey, they probably shouldn't say that. They probably shouldn't do that. Maybe you can make a moral argument, but there is no legal argument against using the N-word, regardless of the color of the person, regardless of it has the A on the end or the ER on the end. There is no legal argument against this. Okay? You can be mad at the person. You can cuss that person out. You go talk about it on the internet. You can record a video and try to make them look bad, as this Somalian, I guess, guy did. But calling the cops is a waste of time. You're wasting police resources. They could be out actually catching people who are doing real crime. So do not waste the resources of our police, who we pay for through our tax dollars, by calling them on somebody who used the N-word at you. And what happens is there's a lot of black people making, and white people as well, I've seen white people doing this as well, making this a moral conversation about the language that the woman used. So let me be very clear about where I stand when it comes to the moral conversation around the woman using this word, or the moral conversation about anything. I'm not a fan of moralizers. I'm not a fan. There are three types of people who I'm really not a fan of. Number one is the moralizer. Actually, is that number one? Yeah, let's say number one. Number one is the moralizer. This is the person who, when they believe somebody else has done something that they believe is morally wrong, not legally wrong, but morally wrong, you start wagging your finger. You basically use what we call the moral high ground to say, okay, I am morally better than you because you did this wrong thing, and I'm going to judge you for the wrong thing that you did. This is what you see a lot of people doing this on social media. People do it offline as well. I'm not a fan of moralizers. The reason I'm not a fan of moralizers is because there's no human on this planet who is devoid of sin. Let's just call it that. Everyone is guilty of it. And some people say, well, some sins are worse than others. Possibly. But as soon as you cross the line of sin, you're on that side. You're either on this side, you've never done it, or you're on this side and you have. And there's no human on the planet who has never crossed that line. Therefore, you're not qualified to moralize against another person. Just because we know about the bad thing that they did, allegedly, and we don't know about the bad shit that you did, does not put you in a position to moralize against them. We just don't know about what's in your closet. We know about what's in theirs, so you can judge them because you can hide. But if we were to take your whole life and put it on Front Street, then you wouldn't be able to moralize either. And everybody who you're moralizing about would then be moralizing against you. That's why I don't even step into the world of saying whether someone is morally right or wrong. I really don't give a damn, because I'm unqualified to morally judge any of you, just like all of you, are unqualified to morally judge anybody else, regardless of what you think about their behavior. You are unqualified, because we put all your shit out there. Again, took all your shit and put it on the street. Then people be wagging their finger at you the same way. So be very careful when you moralize against another person. Second type of person I don't like is a feminine energy man. These are men. These are basically women in men's bodies. People who have the emotional and mental makeup of a female, but they happen to be a man with a penis and testicles. That's number two. Number three is complainers. People who just bitch, moan, and complain a little bit too much, especially when they're men. So anyway, I'm saying all that to say, I really don't care what you think is morally okay versus what you think is not morally okay. It really doesn't matter, because you're not qualified to judge. You're getting angry about this. If you're a black person, you're getting angry about this, you need to find a better thing to get excited about. And excitement can be positive or negative. If you're angry about this as a black person, you need to find something else to get excited about. Why? What you should get excited about is, why don't we have two-parent households in our community? If you want to get excited about something black, you want to prove yourself being pro-black, get excited about the fact we don't have two-parent households in our community. Get excited about that. Get excited about absentee fathers. Get excited about that. Get excited about black people holding other black people accountable for shit that we do in our own communities to each other. You want to get excited about something? Get excited about that. You ain't getting excited about that. If you're not getting excited about black on black violence, which is a real thing, don't tell me about what white people do. Don't tell me this bullshit about proximity, because you're in proximity to a whole bunch of people. How many people you kill? How many people you shoot? How many people you stab? So miss me with the proximity bullshit. Miss me with the whataboutism about white people. If you're not getting excited about two-parent households in the black community, if you're not getting excited about black violence done by black people to other black people, you should not be wasting your breath or your energy about some white woman saying the N-word at a park in Minneapolis or Minnesota. Why are you getting excited about that? Of all the things you can put your energy to, what's that going to do? What's getting excited about this going to do? I don't understand it. And now, more holding black people accountable, because accountability is a big part of what we do here. And since it's a black-white issue, that's why I'm saying this. People call you what you call yourself and what you respond to. People call you what you call yourself and what you respond to. I'll give you an example. I was playing basketball in Mexico some years ago. And me and a couple of my teammates, we're all black guys. We all tall. We all walk into a bar in Mexico. I suggest you be careful walking into bars in Mexico. But anyway, we walk into a bar in Mexico. And this is not in some resort town. This is a regular town, like regular everyday people town. As soon as we walk in the bar, there's a bunch of drunk guys sitting at the bar. And when they see us walk in, one of the guys turns and looks at us, and he gets a big smile on his face, and he's drunk as well. He's like, "What's up? N-word." He said it real loud. He was saying it in a happy way. He wasn't saying it like trying to degrade us or talk bad about us. He was saying it in a positive way. Now, I'm telling you that to say this. The reason why this guy even said that, and there were many times, especially in Mexico, this happened many times. In Mexico, I would meet girls, and the girl would say, I would say, well, no, I was asking this girl, of course, I don't remember exactly what I was asking her, but I was asking her something about males, what kind of men that she was attracted to or that she talked to. And she said, well, I'm not sure if this is wrong, but I was like, what are you going to say? She said, the N-words. She said, I was asking her what kind of men she likes. She said, I like the N-words. There's a Mexican woman. And she said it like she, of course, asked me first before she said it because she had a little bit of sense. This drunk guy, he didn't care. And I'm saying that to say this. All around the world, those of you, especially you neighborhood Negroes who've never been anywhere, all around the world, they consume our material. They got the internet. And before the internet, they had TV. They consume the stuff that we put out. We package, market, and sell this stuff worldwide. We export this stuff. The way that we talk, the language that we use, the stuff that we see as cool, they see as cool as well, because they see us dancing to it. They see us celebrating it. They see us lionizing the people who are saying it. And they say, oh, okay, this is the way that they talk. This is the language that they use. These are the words that they use when they're trying to show endearment to each other. They use this as a term of endearment, right? This is my N-word, right? This is cool, right? So these people who may be a little bit less refined, when they see us using the word this way, that seems positive. When they see us, they say, okay, that's what I got to say. If I want to show that we're cool, then I got to say my N-word. If I want to show that I like these people, I got to say, oh, the N-words, those are the people that we like. We have made this cool. This is not something that white people didn't just go and say, no, we're just going to call them that just to make them feel bad. That's not where it came from. Now, back in the day, yes, that was the situation. Back in the day, let's say, what year is it? It's 2025. So let's just say from slavery days all up through, through civil rights movement up through the 60s. Yes, if a white person was throwing this word around, they were trying to degrade you, make you feel like you were lesser than, and just trying to talk down on you. And this white woman in 2025, last week, when she did it, is that the sentiment she was expressing? Yes, it was. I think we can be clear on that. She would probably agree that was the sentiment she was expressing, and she was bold about it. The thing is, we have made the word popular. And if you want to go and say, well, this is different because she was using it in this way, and you want to judge the intent. My question is, again, I'm saying this because I'm not white. If I was white, then maybe I'd be talking more about the white one, but I'm black. So I'm talking to the black people. How are you getting excited about this? Again, how many times have you made a post or done a live stream or made a comment on social media about rappers throwing the N-word out all the time? Let me ask you a question. If you would ask your grandmother or your great-grandmother, depending on your age, if you have a grandparent over the age of 70, and you are black, how do they feel about the N-word? Even with the A on the end. How do they feel about Jay-Z and DMX and Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg throwing the N-word out? How do they feel about it? Your grandmother, who's over the age of 70, or your grandfather, who's over the age of 70. Your grandfather might be a little bit different. There are some exceptions, but y'all know exactly what I'm getting at. How's your grandmother feel about you throwing the N-word up? Do you go to your grandmother's house and say, hey, my N-word, grandma, what's up? Do you do that? Do you talk like that around the dinner table with your parents? Maybe some of you with your parents, depending on who your parents are. Some parents today are a little bit different. But y'all get the point that I'm making here. You get the direction where I'm going with this. Do you not? that older black folks who were around during those times when it was a lot less relaxed racially, because it's much more relaxed now than it was 40 or 60 years ago, they understand the connotations of this word, and they don't even like black people saying it. I never heard my mom say the N-word. My dad uses it. I never heard my mom use it. Never heard my grandma use it. My sister don't even really use it. I never heard these people use the N-word. They don't go throwing this word around because that word meant something in where they come from. And they just as black as you are. And when they hear the rappers using it, they don't like it. Those of you who are old enough remember in the 90s, when these rappers started coming out, let's say the first half of the 90s, these rappers start coming out throwing the N-word out all the time and saying it in every other word. Who were the people who were pushing back the strongest against it? It wasn't white people, it was black people. That was black people. That was C. Dolores Tucker. That was Jesse Jackson, believe it or not. That was Al Sharpton, believe it or not. They were the ones who were pushing back against the use of the N-word. They said, we don't like this type of music. We are not going to monetize this word. We are not going to make this word cool. That is a demeaning word. We know where it comes from. We know the connotations of it and why it started. Just because you made it a slang term by swapping out the ER for an A does not change the meaning of the word. Stop using this word. This is what black people were saying to black people in the early 90s. What happened? What happened? 35 years later, now it's just become accepted. Oh, times change. It's a different era. I know times have changed. I know it's a different era. That doesn't make it okay. Saying that something is new or that is a different era or that there's a different group of people does not necessarily mean that what's happening with the new thing is better than the old thing. A lot of people seem to have this false idea that something being new means better and something being old means worse. Not necessarily. Sometimes the new thing is worse and the old thing is better. Personally, I think the old thing was better when using the N-word was like you got dirty looks from other black people for using the N-word. Nowadays, you throw out the N-word. Now you got white people feeling comfortable. More and more they hear it, the more they're thinking, okay, this must be okay. And again, this is my point. People call you what you call yourself. If white people see black people calling each other the N-word, then white people are eventually going to get comfortable enough to start using it themselves. Why? Because they see you using it. They see you answering the N-word, they're going to call you the N-word. Again, I walked in that bar in Mexico, and the first thing the dude said was, "What's up, my N-word?" Because that's what he saw on TV. We have made this cool. So what am I going to do? Punch him in the face? He wasn't using it in a negative way. But even if he had used it in a negative way, I already told you what happens with that. Your favorite rapper uses the word, you dance to it, then a white person uses it and you're outraged. Let me ask you a question. Who pays your favorite rapper? Where's your favorite rapper getting their money from? Who owns the company that they're assigned to? Who owns the distribution platform that they sell their music through? That you're listening to their music through Apple and Spotify and SoundCloud or Sony or BMG or whatever big company, big conglomerate owns the label that they're assigned to. Well, who are those people? They black? Those black-owned businesses? Not last time I checked. Those ain't black-owned businesses. They're not distributed by black people. So who's paying them to say the things that they're saying? Here's the thing y'all need to understand. I was talking about this last week or the week before when I was talking about podcasters and popularity back when we were on the Shannon Sharp conversation. Here's what a lot of you black folks don't understand, especially those of you who really look up to these athletes and entertainers, especially the entertainers. Athletes, they make their money based on actual performance. We know exactly what they're doing. Entertainers is actually much more. Let me get more specific on the entertainers. The podcasters, the YouTubers, the streamers, and especially the rappers, the musicians, is that if a group of people gets together and they say, we want to hold another community back, we want to make them worse, we want to stop their progress, they can't just do a frontal attack because people can see through a frontal attack. If I just come right at you and try to attack you and slow you down and hold you back, you're going to see that and you'll resist it. But if I say, here's what we'll do, let's just assume that I'm not black. And I say, here's what we'll do. All we got to do is and let me back up before I even get to this point. Those of you who are old enough to remember, I'm not quite old enough to remember, but I somewhat remember. My dad will remember. Back in the 80s, late 80s, going into the early 90s, the rap music was out. And there were rappers and there were popular rappers, but the rappers were like educating you. They were giving you insights. They were giving you what they call consciousness, or what some of you may call backpack rappers. I don't know if that still is a thing. They were rappers that would be called backpack today. They were the mainstream rappers back in the late 80s going into the early 90s. These people were preaching consciousness. They were telling you about your history. They were telling you about how to be proud to be black. And they were holding black people accountable in their music for doing bad things in the black community. There was a song called Self-Destruction. A bunch of popular rappers, all the popular rappers at that time, got together and made a song for the black community and said, you are destroying your own community. We are headed for self-destruction. That song was not for white people. That song was by black people for black people, telling them we are going in the wrong direction with what we're doing in our communities. It wasn't about the music. It was about everyday life in our communities. Queen Latifah, who's still alive, she had a song called UNITY. And in the song, the first verse of the song, she explained how she was walking down the street and some black dude touched her butt when she walked by, and she turned around and said, "What is you doing?" And the black dude referred to her as a bitch in a friendly way. And she said in the song, she punched him in his face. The whole point being, I'm not a bitch, I'm not a hoe. You're not going to refer to me that. And ladies, you need to stop referring to yourselves as bitches and hoes, because that makes the men think it's okay to do it. And then look what happened. Very quickly, the tide turned. Those of you old enough to remember know exactly what I'm talking about. Y'all can co-sign this. Very quickly, the tide turned. All of a sudden, we got NWA, N-words with attitude. Then we got Dr. Dre, we got Snoop, then we got Notorious B.I.G., we got Tupac. All of that happened over the span of a couple of years. Then all of a sudden, those rappers preaching that conscious shit weren't being heard. Now, they're called backpack rappers. Now they rap in basements. All right, they don't do big shows, those rappers. Even the rapper who you think is conscious, you take someone like a Kendrick Lamar, and he still got the N-word in every song. He still got the N-word in every song. Take a half black person like Drake, still got the N-word in every song. I'm saying all that to say, here's what happened. Some people who are not black, y'all can guess who they are. They got together and they said, how do we, and this is my theory, let me back up. Theory, how do we hold these people back? How do we keep them from advancing? Because these rappers out here preaching this consciousness shit, Queen Latifah talking about don't call yourself bitches and hoes and don't let men call you that. You got Public Enemy out here talking about what was going on back in the day and how we need to not be messing ourselves up. And Chuck D, who doesn't curse at all in his raps. How do we slow down this? Because this is actually working. This is working. Public Enemy was popular. Queen Latifah was popular. Self-Destruction was a hit record. How do we slow this down? Because these people are getting a little bit too smart. They're becoming a little bit too aware. They're getting a little bit too conscious. They're going to be a little bit too powerful if we keep allowing this to be popular. These are the popular guys. See, it's not like they were saying, how do we slow down the school teachers? They said, how do we slow down the entertainers? Because the entertainers are the ones who has everybody's ear. How do we slow this down? And again, this is just my theory. Here's what they said. Why don't we go find some of these N-words who are willing to preach the opposite message? This is what happened. Again, just my theory, but y'all can tell me if you agree or disagree. They said, why don't we go find, because some of these N-words are too smart. They're giving them too much. They're making them better. Why don't we go find some N-words who will say the opposite? Why don't we go find some N-words who will call women bitches and hoes, that'll call each other the N-word, that will rap about violence and drug dealing and taking each other's lives. Why don't we go find some of these N-words who are willing to do that on a song in exchange for some money? Why don't we see if that works? Let's try it. We don't know if it's going to work, but let's try it. And guess who they found? Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., Jay-Z, Puff Daddy, etc. That's what they found. Those guys. And let me be clear. I'm not saying this from some soapbox. I listen to these guys' music. I'm a fan. I listen to the music. But I don't go out living out what these people talk about. I don't talk like that. You hear the language that I'm using right now, right? And what happened is these people, again, continuing my theory, they said, let's go find some people who will accept money to preach this degeneracy to their own people. Because if they went to some Latin people and said, hey, preach degeneracy to your people, Latin people said, hell no, are you crazy? You can't, there's not enough money you can pay me to do that. No, I'm not doing it. They went to white people and said, preach degeneracy to your people. The white people said, are you out of your damn mind? That would destroy our whole community. We don't want people growing up thinking that this is okay. Hell no. And I am offended by the fact you even came to me with this proposition. Get the hell out of my face with that. That's what they said to them. But when they went to the black people and said, we'll give you some money to preach degeneracy to your community, there were some black people that said, well, how much? How much we talking? And that's when we got NWA. That's when we got gangster rap. And here we are. The point being, folks, they didn't say, let's go to the authors who write books. They didn't say, let's go to the teachers who teach in schools. They said, let's go to the entertainers because they're the ones with the biggest audiences. How do we get the shift from this consciousness nonsense to degeneracy? Because, hey, degeneracy, y'all got to understand scientifically, negativity spreads faster than positivity. And they said, why don't we try to sell this? It's a ridiculous idea, but maybe it'll work. Oh, it worked. 35 years later, it worked. That's why we have gangster rap. Notice ain't no gangster rap in the white, ain't no white gangster rap. There's no Latin gangster rap. What's the other groups? All right, name another group. Ain't no gangster rap in any of those other places. Are there gangsters in other communities? Other communities got gangs and gangsters, right? I mean, the whole thing with Donald Trump and deporting people is what? They're members of gangs. And they ain't black people. They're not black Americans. They're and they're not African either. So he's finding all these gang members from places that are south of the United States, Latin America, Central America, not Latin America, Central America, South America. These are all gang members. So obviously they have gangsters. Why don't they have a popular gangster rap genre in the United States of America? I mean, there's enough Latin people here, right? There's all these brown people that are about to be more than black people. Why don't they have popular gangster rap? Or maybe I just don't know about it. Why are the black gangster rappers so popular? Because we're the ones who took the money. So what happens is sometimes when we're talking about the gangster rappers, I'm sure there's been comments like this. I'll get to the comments in a moment. I'm sure there's someone in the comments who already said, well, the gangster rappers rap about what they rap about because some people who are not black are paying them to say what they're saying. I agree with you that some people who are not black are paying your favorite gangster rappers to say the things that they say that are leading our community into degeneracy because of their popularity. Is that true? Yes, it is true. Now, here's where we hold black people accountable, because I'm not holding the person writing the check. I'm not holding them accountable, because here's why they're writing the check. Those non-black people who are paying your favorite gangster rappers to preach nonsense to us and to our kids, the reason that they're doing it is because we accept the money and they make money off it. They're just doing business. Again, I'm not a fan of moralizers. They're just doing business. They said, if we can pay these N-words to say this degenerate shit to their own people and sell it to their people, and their people buy the shit and we can make money off it, okay, keep paying them. All right, we'll pay Drake. We'll pay Kendrick Lamar. We'll pay Jay-Z. We'll pay Snoop Dogg. We'll pay 50 Cent. We'll pay them. All right, they'll keep preaching it and people are buying it. We making money over here. All right, we're just doing business. We making money. So if it's making us money, we gonna do it. Now, if these N-words didn't buy it, then we would stop doing it. But they keep buying it, so we're gonna keep selling it. That's what it is. If black people said, we completely reject this, y'all not gonna preach this to our kids. We are not going to celebrate this. We're not gonna make celebrities out of you N-words, preaching N-word stuff to our community and calling our women bitches and hoes. If black people said, no, we are not interested, then the non-black people who are paying your favorite rappers would stop paying them, because there'd be no ROI from making that investment. So what does all this mean? Who accepted the money? You can offer me money to do anything. I ain't got to say yes. Just because somebody offered your favorite rapper some money to preach the N-word does not mean your favorite rapper had to take the money. That's where you want to talk accountability. This is the accountability. You can offer me money right now to do anything. I don't have to accept the money. I don't care how much money it is. Do I have to accept it? No. If you decide to accept the money to do something that is bringing down your own community, you are accountable for accepting the money. Just like back in the days when I was in school, if you did something bad in school and the word got back to your parents, and your parents said, why were you being bad in school? And you said, well, everybody in class was being bad. What did your parents say to you? They said, well, if everybody in class jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge too? All right, just because somebody offered you money does not mean you have to take it. And in the black community, your favorite entertainers are popular because they have a bunch of money. The only reason they got a bunch of money is because we buy it when they put the degeneracy out there. We bought it. We became consumers of the nonsense. And again, I'm guilty. I'm a consumer of it. So I'm not saying this, again, from some soapbox or some moral high ground. This is what the black community chose to do. We chose this. We chose to stop listening to the conscious material from the rappers who were popular in the late 80s going into the early 90s. And we said, no, we like these guys better. We like the N-word and the bitches and hoes and the drug dealers and the killers, allegedly, at least on songs. We like them better than these other guys. So we're going to put our consumer dollars behind that. And at the same time, again, some people think this is supporting black people. No, it ain't. They don't own the music. They don't own the music. Where's your money going? Your money ain't going. Some of your money is going in the pockets of Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and Jay-Z and Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Most of the money ain't going to them. Most of the money is going to the people who own their catalogs, and it ain't them. And those people who own it, they ain't black. Owners of Spotify ain't black. Owners of Apple ain't black. That money is not going in black pockets. Now, black people became popular and they get paid. They're not broke. They're making some money, but the most of the money ain't going to them. And we bought this. Now, all the money that this woman raised, let me get back to where I was. Okay, now I went on a kind of a tangent about that, but it needed to be said. The donation going to this woman, Shiloh Hendricks, the white woman who called this black kid the N-word, and then she said the N-word again on camera. Is it fair? Is it good that she has received this money? You've been listening to me so far here today. You probably already know my answer. The answer is doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. All right. First law of economics, ladies and gentlemen, is supply and demand. So if there is a demand for something, someone will supply. After that situation in Texas, where a black teenager stabbed a white teenager over what seemed to be a verbal altercation, and a white kid died, a whole bunch of people donated collectively $500,000 to this black kid and his family for quote unquote protection. $500,000 to a black kid who stabbed a white kid over what seemed to be a schoolyard confrontation. And white people saw that. And I will defend white people here. So anybody want to say I'm defending white people? Here it is. White people saw that. And they said, wait a minute. This two kids had a schoolyard altercation. One kid pulled out a knife. Why do you even have it? We don't know yet. He stabs the white kid, kills him. And now the black kid is holding press conferences talking about how unsafe they are and how they fear for their life and how they're in danger and people need to give money. And people actually went and gave $500,000 to this kid over the course of a couple of weeks. White people saw that and said, wait, what the hell is going on? That just doesn't sound right. It doesn't smell right. Doesn't sound right. Something ain't right about that. So now this white woman comes along 3 weeks later. She uses the N-word at a black kid at a park. Definitely a much lower level of offense than stabbing somebody to death. But I digress. And they put the video out and the woman's going viral for having said the N-word. And she claims that she's in danger and people are trying to hurt her, et cetera, et cetera. Is she actually in danger? We don't know. Are people really trying to hurt her? We don't know. Does she really need the money for protection? Probably not. Does Carmelo Anthony need the money for protection? Probably not. But white people said, okay, well, if those folks can give money to the black kid for stabbing a white kid to death, and they're out there running around as if they're the victim, which does not make any sense. That's me talking. And white people probably think that. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, we'll give money to this white woman for using the N-word. All right, let's just, again, Sir Isaac Newton had three laws of motion. The third law of motion is the following. This is something all of you have heard before, but maybe you didn't know where it came from. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That is a scientific law. What does that mean? It connotates with the third law of economics, which is there are no free lunches, also known as opportunity costs, also known as trade-offs. So what does all this mean? It means every single thing you do, there is a cost for the thing that you do. So when Black America decided they wanted to give $500,000 to a black kid who stabbed a white kid to death, white America said, okay, hold my beer. All right, now let me show you what we can do. We're going to give $500,000 to a white woman who called a kid the N-word at the park. That's what y'all want to do. This is what we're going to do. Equal and opposite reaction, ladies and gentlemen. $500,000 each. Now, there are some people saying, well, both sides are wrong. That you shouldn't give money to a black kid who stabbed a white kid. You should give money to a white woman who used the N-word. Both of them are wrong. Neither of them is morally upstanding. And I understand their position. I'm not saying that these people are wrong, but I'm also saying, so what? So what if you think it's wrong? You think it's wrong all you want. Is a scientific law that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That is a scientific fact. That one cannot be disputed. Now, y'all want to talk about facts? There's a fact for you right there. Look that one up on ChatGPT. Okay. All the money this woman raised is not because she said the N-word. This is what I'm seeing a lot of people say. They're saying, oh, well, this is more proof of the racism of the United States of America because a bunch of white people went and gave a bunch of money to this white woman because she said the N-word. That's the way everybody was framing it on social media on Friday and into Saturday. That a white woman called some kid the N-word. Allegedly, the kid had autism. I don't know if he did or not. I don't know where they got that from. And allegedly, he was 5 years old. According to what I see on the video, if that's the kid, that kid's not 5 years old. That kid's like 10 years old. But whatever the age of the kid. Some white woman calls a black kid the N-word, and a bunch of people donated money to her because they're racist. Wrong. That is not why it happened. That's not why it happened. That's called contextumy. It's pulling things out of context. The spirit of contextumy. Actual contextumy means quoting somebody out of context. But when I say contextumy, I mean the spirit of the point, which is pulling items out of context from a story to make it seem one way instead of telling the whole context of the story. So that's not because of the N-word. What it is a reaction by white America over how black America behaved over that Carmelo Anthony thing, combined with BLM, combined with George Floyd, combined with DEI, combined with everything else. White people said, okay, give us an opportunity to do this for something degenerate that a white person does. Okay, here we go. That's what it was. That's all this is. It was white America. I'm not saying every white person, of course, the same way I'm not saying every black person. They were just waiting for an opportunity to show you, hey, you want to be degenerate and you want to support a degenerate behavior? We will support degenerate behavior too. Equal and opposite reaction. Again, Newton's third law of motion. That's what this actually is. That's what that money is. It's just a response. Is either side of this right? Irrelevant. Is the woman right? Is the kid right? Irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. What about the high road? Some people say, what about taking the high road? I saw this guy, TJ Moe, good guy. We follow each other on social media. He said that both sides are wrong because he's talking about it from a, let's say, a Christian approach. He is a openly Christian guy. He's saying, I can't remember exactly what he said in the exact words, but what he was saying was this woman, actually, let me see if I can find his post because it was actually a good post. Now, again, TJ's a white guy. And what he said was actually a good thing. I got to see if I can find it because it happened on Friday and I happen to have been very active over the weekend on social media. But I'm going to try to find this post because it was actually a good post of what he said. Let me see if I can find it. Because this will perfectly encapsulate. Where is it? No, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. How can I find this post? X needs a better search. They need better search material. So any of you in touch with Elon, tell him that they need a better way of searching through posts because I just posted this the other day, but it's making it difficult for me to find it. So maybe this is it. No, this is not it. No. Where the hell is this post? Let me see if this is it. I might find it inside the thread. No, that's not it either. I can't find the damn post. Unfortunately, it's not going to be easy for me to find. I don't want to have y'all sitting here waiting while I'm trying to find it. They need better search. So any of you know anybody over at X, maybe I can find it over here. Let me try one more way because I want to read this because it's actually a very good exchange of what he was saying versus what I was saying. He said, no, not there. 2 days ago. Oh, here it is. All right, I found it. All right. So see, stick-to-itiveness. TJ Moe said the following. All right, here's TJ Moe on X. TJ said, and he posted the video. Did y'all see the video? Have all y'all seen the video of this white woman saying the N-word? Y'all want to see the video? All right, I'm going to play the video so y'all can actually hear what happened. So make sure we're all on the same page. So I'm going to play this. Actually, what I'm going to do is take my restroom break while I'm doing this. All right. And when this is done, then I'm going to tell you what TJ said, then what I said back to him. Play the video.
Did you call the child the nigger word? It is my business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the boss to say it right now again? Fuck you, nigger. Okay. Nigger. All right, that's what you say. Nobody dig into your shit. That little kid, you call him a nigger? That little child? Are you about to hit him? You chasing him? He took my son's stuff. So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word. That's what you're going to call him. That's what he's going to act like. You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that. Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you. Give me butler, everybody. Give me butler, everybody. Give me butler, everybody. Go home. Give me butler, everybody. Buddy. Go home. Give me butler.
So, not all y'all heard it. All right, here's what TJ said. TJ Moe said, this is called white trash. So TJ's a white guy, so he's calling this woman white trash. It's easy to spot. I have no idea why people are donating money to this woman. How did it become a thing in 2025 that people will raise money for you when you act like a jerk to someone, but only if they're another race? this is a legitimate argument that TJ is making, but he's playing the moral high ground position here. And this is what my response was. My response was this: she may be white trash, and if she's going to be attacked and have her personal information shared online as a retaliation of what happened in this video, I understand the counter energy from those who support her, given what happened in Texas. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, what I just told you all. In this sense, two wrongs do make a right. And he responded and said, I understand what's happening. It's just stupid that it's happening. I'm critical of black people for defending anything just because it's black. And he's also going to be critical of white people for defending anything that's white. And my response to that was the following: that you got to fight fire with fire. And this is what Machiavelli said. Those of you who never read Niccolo Machiavelli, he wrote a book called The Prince. And Machiavelli is not Tupac. His name was Machiavelli, and Tupac took that and kind of made a different version of it for his album. So those of you who don't know, Machiavelli is an actual person. And what he said was, and I'm paraphrasing it, is that those who try too hard to be good will meet their undue demise amongst those who are not good. What does that mean? Robert Greene talks about this also in one of my favorite books called The 50th Law that he wrote with 50 Cent, is that if you believe yourself to be a morally upstanding person, you believe yourself to be a good, just, fair, righteous individual, and I think most of you believe yourselves to be that, what you need to accept and understand is that you are going to come across people who are not that in your life. You're a good person. You're going to come across some people who are not good. You're an honest person. You're going to come across some people who are dishonest. You obey the law. You're going to come across some people who don't obey the law. And you cannot avoid these people for all your life. You can't just keep making your circle smaller to avoid dealing with these folks. Eventually, you're going to run into them. And you must learn how to deal with them. Because if you don't learn how to deal with them, then they will take advantage of you. You got to be willing to deal with people who are not good, even though you are good. And anybody who tries to just be good and doesn't learn how to fight fire with fire, in other words, you always try to take the high road, even though other people are taking the low road. Eventually, at some point in your life, you might have to take the low road just to let people know I'm capable of doing this. I'm capable of taking the low road. This is the way you want to play. I'm capable of playing this way. What happened here with this woman getting this $500,000 was white America saying, okay, these mofos keep taking the low road. We're going to take the low road too and show them that we can play this game as well. That's what this was. This was in boxing. You just throwing a jab to keep your opponent off you. That's what this is. And if you're not willing to meet people on the low road, then people will low road you completely out of the game and you'll end up losing because you're not willing to play dirty. You got to be willing to do so. That's the way I see it. All that said, let's get to the comments here. We got an hour on the clock and we will go no later than 10 o'clock a.m. today, in case any of you was wondering. Let me see. I didn't see any comments on Rumble, YouTube. Nothing over there. Nothing over there. Let me see what we got over on Instagram. Jersey Girl Baby, good morning. Asked me my thoughts on the father that went and off the cop after the kid. I got to get more details on that because I'm hearing conflicting stories. As did he actually kill the right cop or did he just kill any cop? So I don't know enough about that to talk about it. And I don't know if it's a big enough story yet, but it might become one. Jersey Girl said, do not give the end so much power. Would you kill a person for calling you the end and they haven't touched you? Well, some black people claim that they would. Till the race touch me, I'm not bothered by what comes out of their mouth. Is their mouth because I can come back with my mouth. Yes, exactly. Pause. Right. So Jersey Girl said, agreed. It's exactly what they did. Well said. Yes, that is what they did. Rappers sold their soul to sell out their culture for a song, sad love for the money. Yes, that's what happens in a capitalistic society. All right, TikTok. We are over in the comments on TikTok. I will let you all know. Disclaimer, I cannot see all the comments from TikTok. I can only see the ones from as far up as I could scroll. So don't get mad if I quote unquote ignored your comment. I didn't ignore your comment. I just can't read all of them because it's too many. Simply Farm said, give me comments to live quality. Yes, those are the guys who now we call them Backpack. They were the hottest rappers in the 80s and 90s. I'm not saying them specifically, but people who rap like Common and Talib Kweli were the hottest rappers in the late 80s and early 90s until gangster rap took over and then being conscious was not popular anymore. Desi Boy said, we should be offended to only be entertainment. Well, we are more than entertainment, but our most popular people are entertainers. And again, this is a cultural thing. Our most popular people in black culture are entertainers and athletes. And also, we send entertainers and athletes to speak for us on serious topics. Malcolm X has a clip that y'all can find online where he's saying it. He said, you don't see Latinos sending baseball players to speak about politics. You don't see white people sending rock and roll singers to talk about who you should vote for, but we do it all the time. We send LeBron James, and fucking Quavo and Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce to tell us who to vote for. All right? No other culture does that. Only we do it. And that's a cultural thing. I don't blame the entertainers for being entertainers. I blame us for accepting them as people who should be listened to. In the 2020 election, Joe Biden did one interview. He got interviewed by fucking Cardi B. Why did Essence, I think it was Essence Magazine, whoever that was, why they choose Cardi B? It's not because they're trying to hold us down. It's because they looked at the landscape and they said, we need to get through to black people. Who's the person that they're going to listen to? They could have sent somebody intelligent with some actual sense. They said, well, the people that they listen to the most is Cardi B. So let's go send Cardi B. And hey, Joe Biden won the election, allegedly. So anyway, the American Dad said, we're free to say what you want in the United States. That's true. Black Pride said, Jay-Z got his publishing in his own musical streaming platform title. When Jay-Z first got signed, Black Pride, I think you understand the direction of my point. I mean, you're trying to split hairs here. You understand my point. Jay-Z's first deal was through a company called Priority. Then they had Rockefeller, but Rockefeller also was distributed. They had a distribution deal. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying. A lot of rappers claim to have all their publishing. Their distribution is going through other platforms. And how many streams does he get on Tidal versus Apple Music and Spotify? King Henry says Suge Knight making the money. Suge Knight's in jail. He ain't making nothing. And he doesn't own all that anyway. The main people making most of the money are not black. All right, so any of you, please don't believe what you hear rappers say about who owns their stuff. They don't own all of it. It's owned by somebody else. The distribution they don't own. There's no black distribution company that's distributing music. They're not on a large scale. There are some smaller ones who are. Money Stay Woke said the owners make billions getting a couple million that they owe them back. Yes, exactly. And I think most of you understand that. Some of you are pretending to not understand it. Shenanigan said everyone has a choice to have morals, to be righteous, but you blame only whites for bad black music. I don't think that's what I did. I suggest you re-listen to what I said. Pernicus said, you don't have to apologize. You're defending your fellow American citizens. I didn't apologize for anything. Truco said, grew up in LA, huge Eazy-E fan, but I never say it. My kids get the pass and they never say it. Yes, I get it. Miss I said, I knew you were going to compare. Compare what? What did I compare? And do you agree? Andrea said, neither deserve the fundraiser. Deserve, I'm not a fan of that word. I mean, it doesn't matter what they deserve. That's what they got. That's really what it comes down to. Miss I said, he is married to Gui. Thank you for the follow. Geeks RS said, people got money to throw at these people must be nice. Yes, that's something I said on social over this weekend. I said, well, this must mean the economy is doing well. So a lot of people said Trump was about to destroy the economy. But if people come up with $1 million to donate between these two people, that means the economy is going great. So we should all be happy, even if you didn't partake. Southern Accent said, if she used better judgment, she wouldn't have this issue. I would not give her a penny. All right, fair enough. I don't think it was a matter of judgment. I think it was a matter of she just got annoyed and pissed off in a moment and she lashed out verbally, which is something that women tend to do. Men do it as well, but women tend to do that. When they're pissed off, they lash out verbally. Doesn't mean she did anything wrong. Doesn't mean that she didn't use judgment. I don't think judgment comes into play when you're just reacting. Fast and the Curious said, this is what happens when you turn a murder into a racially charged celebration. Yes, that is what happens. That's exactly what happens. Alex said, bro wore a suit and starts breaking down constitutional law. I didn't say anything about constitutional law. Melissa said, they've been donating. Who are you talking about? Princeton Faye said, 2 wrongs don't make it right. In some cases, they do. In some cases, 2 wrongs do make it right. Not in all cases, but in some cases, they do. Beauty Without a Beast said, they've been racist way before the Carmelo situation. Who's they? Who are you talking about? Birdie said, that's exactly what happened and is further proof how far the human race has digressed. Yes, I don't even know if it's a human race. I think it's just Americans. I think it's Americans because I haven't lived long enough in any other country to know, but in America, we get really, really excited over things that involve race, especially black people, but there are white people who do it as well. A larger percentage of black people because there's just fewer of us. Grand said, again, it was not a knife. Did it with Kyle as well and plenty others. How you know whether it was a knife or not, Grand? I haven't seen anything come from the official sources, i.e. the court, that says it was not a knife or if it was a knife. And not even a topic anyway today. So please let's not get off the topic. Well, I said the white kid that got killed at LeBron's school. Yes, that was never became a story. Yes. Beauty Without a Beast said, how do you even make this about Carmelo? I'm not making it about him, number one. Number two, if I wanted to make it about him the way that I did, however you start to think that I did, you saw me do it artfully, I would say, if I may say so myself. And number three, I'm saying that if they could give money to him for what he did, they give money to this white woman. Yeah, I think if you let me make my whole point, you would understand that before you left that comment. Judge Baldwin said the proof to be true because the father reaction over the weekend shows your point to be true. Well, I mean, the father, you talking about the father thing with the cop? That's, you can still see that as anecdotal. And what he did was not a good idea because he's, first of all, going to get his ass whipped in jail when the cameras are not on by all those cops. And secondly, he's probably going to be in prison for the rest of his life. Not a good idea. Jay World said they would have supported her without the killing case. She lives around blacks. They have to save her. Okay. Maybe. Miss I said, what about Rittenhouse? He's not the subject here today, but what about him? Trugo says some donated $14.88, so that was another outrage. What does a dollar amount have to do with it? I don't know what that number means. Desi Boy said they still mad at the OJ jury. Well, the prosecution fumbled that case. Princeton Feed said DEI George Floyd. Yes. It's a combination of all those things. Leo Man says she was not close to the child. What are you talking about? Crazy Love said they've always supported degenerate behavior. Who's they? Who are you talking about? Crazy Love said you're 100% correct to show the stupidity of supporting a murderer and whatever, but yes, you're correct. Thank you. Boudreaux, he said, what does that mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Austin said, I'm just sick of the behavior on all sides. Well, go see a doctor for that sickness because it's not going to end. It's only going to get worse, generally speaking. The Chad Gaming said, are you Christian? Or you aren't Christian? Your question is kind of presupposing an answer. So you got to phrase that question better. Melissa said, people need to take accountability for their actions. Well, I agree with that. Yes. Melissa said, you mess with someone, expect whatever comes with that decision. I also agree. Lala said, we need to stop fighting over schoolyard BS. Well, generally, yes. I generally agree with that, but it depends on who the people are. Blue says, send me a donation too, just to prove that I can raise $500,000 for doing nothing. Well, you got to do something. Both of these situations, something had to happen for you to raise the money. So it's not doing nothing. You do have to actually do something. Mark Cram said, if you don't believe that you're in a matrix, conversing is futile. Well, not all conversation is worth it, whether you're in a matrix or not. Jimmy said, this has to do with the collective. I am me. That's who I am. Understand me, please. No. What does that even mean? Liberty Bell said, all this race stuff is just crazy and clearly manufactured. Us 90s people can see it clearly. Well, what I think, Liberty Bell, is that people who want to draw attention and, well, they want to make money through drawing people's attention said, well, if we get people excited about race, it seems like that gets people going a lot and it draws attention. And when you have people's attention, you can get their money. So there are people out there who said, what do we need to do to get more people's attention so that we can make more money? The media has always had the saying that if it bleeds, it leads. That was around way before even the 90s. That was around before most of us were alive. If it bleeds, it leads. What bleeds in America is anything involving racial tension. That has always worked. Donald Trump leveraged it. Barack Obama leveraged it. And what we see these days is just more leveraging of that same thing. Anything that involves racial tension gets everybody excited because everybody has a race and most people have an opinion on things that involve race. On other subjects, some people are simply not interested. But when it comes to race, everybody has something to say. So if you want to make money, talk about race. I mean, look at how many people were in this live while I was talking here today. Because I'm talking about race. If I was talking about discipline or confidence or business, there'd be much fewer people because not everyone has an opinion on those subjects. And not everyone is interested in those subjects, but everyone's interested in the racial topic. So, like I said, but people be trying you sometimes. Well, what do you mean by trying you? You mean someone doing something that you disagree with? That I agree. That happens to everybody. It's a matter of how you respond to it, not a matter of whether they do it or not. You can't control other people's actions. You can only control yours. Carla said, two wrongs don't make it right. You just have two wrongs. Generally, I agree. While at the same time, as I already said, I really don't care whether it's right or wrong. I look at things as this is just what happened. I'm not so much into the right or wrong conversation. I understand what most of you are saying. I get it, but I generally don't care whether something's right or wrong. I just like dealing with it as it is. Happy Cap said, usually they're not people, they are demons. What does that mean? Lip Fairy said, an eye for an eye isn't right. Couldn't care who book it was written in, like, huh? What? Oh, you talking about that Machiavelli quote? He didn't say eye for an eye. What he said is that if you try too hard to be good, you're going to have to deal with people who are bad, and you won't have tools to deal with them. Like, you got to know how to deal with people who don't play by the rules. And if you don't know how to deal with them, they will beat you. House of Abba said, the internet made the situation so big that racism wanted to prove a point. Well, what is the internet? The internet is all of us. So the internet is us. We made the situation big. The internet is only us. Social media is a whole bunch of people like you and I talking. That's the internet. So we can't blame the internet like it's some random entity out there like the Wizard of Oz. No, it's us. We are the internet. Carla said, the prince is what government and politicians use to learn to leverage power. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And people need to learn that. If you're not willing to play dirty, people who play dirty will beat you. Now, Donald Trump learned this very well in his first term. And he's playing much differently this term because he was dealing with people who are willing to play dirty with smiles on their faces. And you got to learn how to suss those people out. Robert Greene wrote a book called The 50th Law and also The 33 Strategies of War, where he talks about this in even more detail. Miss I said, who care what white people think? Well, you do. The fact you even made that comment, you care. That's why you're saying it. Common says, sometimes you have to do bad things to bad people. This is correct. That is true. Deej says, as if white people haven't harmed us, as if the whole MAGA hasn't take the low road. Well, I wouldn't say the whole MAGA. I wouldn't put a whole group, and I also wouldn't say the whole group of white people. And when you say us, what are you referring to? You're talking about like historically. If that's what you're referring to, Deej, first of all, white people harming black people, that does not give you license today to do something crazy to a white person saying, hey, slavery. So that makes it okay. You're going to end up in jail or doing something like that. That's a foolish way of thinking. And as far as MAGA, the whole MAGA, again, that'd be like somebody grouping everybody who didn't vote MAGA, whoever you voted for. Do you want to be lumped in with everybody in a group just because you share one characteristic? So I would challenge you to give me a more elevated level of thinking in your commentary. Like I said, I think white people have actually been restrained. Well, generally, you could say that. I mean, black people talk about how it's going to be some type of. I hear people talking about a race war. Black people don't want a race war. We don't have enough people. We ain't got enough guns. We ain't got enough money. We don't have enough strategy. We don't have enough leadership. So we wouldn't win a race war. So black people, you don't want a race war between blacks and whites. That would not be a fair fight, and we wouldn't win. Desi Boy said, that sounds wrong to my soul. What are you talking about? Angelica, 2008, good morning to you. Desi Boy said, I think it was about supremacy. You think what was about supremacy? Stay Woke said he killed was it the cop that offed his son, or was it a different cop? I've heard conflicting stories of which one it was that he actually went and took the life of. It was just a random cop. That's ridiculous. That's stupid of him. And again, he's going to get his ass whipped in jail. He's already getting his ass whipped in jail. Y'all ain't going to see that on camera. You take the life of a cop, other cops are going to show up and let you know how they feel about it with their hands. Where am I? Birdie, good morning. Thank you. Ant 007, thank you. Steve Womack said that's why Trump's in the White House. Democrats going to have to get dirty too. Well, Steve, Democrats got dirty first. I mean, look how they framed Trump from the very time he stepped into politics. Everything about him, they tried to make it negative. I think they were playing dirty against him. Generally, if I was to just say my perspective, I think the Republican Party in America needs to learn to play dirty the way the Democrats have been playing dirty. The Democrats have been playing dirty since 2016. With everything about Trump, they made it look negative. Did you see what? Were you alive in 2024? Did you see the 4 court cases he had? All of that was designed to bankrupt him, incarcerate him, and keep him incarcerated for the rest of his life. Had he lost the 2024 election, he'd be in jail right now. He wouldn't get out. He'd be there till he passed away. So I would say the Democratic Party have played a lot dirtier than the Republicans, and Trump just happens to be the ringleader for the Republican Party, showing them, okay, they want to play dirty. We got to be willing to play dirty. So hopefully, if you're a Republican, you should be hoping that whatever Donald Trump is doing rubs off on the rest of the Republican Party so that they are willing to go to the low road, if necessary, against the Democrats moving forward. Because not going to the low road would put them in a bad position. What happened in the 2020 election? Do we know? What did they do to the January 6 people? All right, was that playing dirty? I think so. Those people were held incarcerated without y'all want to talk about due process? The people from January 6, whether you're a Trump supporter or not, people from January 6 were held in jail for a very long time before they had a case. It is in the Constitution the right to a speedy trial. They didn't get a speedy trial. Why? Because of who they were supporting. That was dirty. So, Steve, I would say the exact opposite of what you're saying. Trump's in the White House because voters saw the Democrats playing dirty and voters responded to the dirty play. And again, Trump, his election is representative of voters saying the Democrats are doing too much. But Trump only has 3 more years or 4 more years. Man of Steel said, I really enjoy your lives here on TikTok. Thank you. The Chad Gaming with a straw man, the straw man of the day, the Chad Gaming, congratulations. He said, you're bringing up another situation to justify this behavior with a question mark. No, it's not about me justifying anything, the Chad Gaming. I don't need to justify anything. Justifying is offering a connotation that I need to explain myself to anyone or justify anything that I'm saying. I don't need to justify anything to anybody. I'm bringing up another situation as an example to further illustrate my point. But justify is not a word that's not very much in my vocabulary because I don't need to explain myself to anyone or my approaches. Wine Tony said, can you explain to white people what pause mean? People don't know what pause means. Pause is a slang, how do I want to say it? A slang form of communication when men say something that could be connotated to mean something sexually. We say pause kind of as a joke to let you know that I know that what I said could sound one way, but that's not what I meant. Most people probably didn't even catch that. But if you caught it, then you know what I'm talking about. So when I said coming out of your mouth, pause. It's a joke. Duck Gone Buck said he killed anyone. They had 30 plus in the courtroom trying to intimidate him. Yeah, I saw that. That's what I'm saying. Those 30 cops kicked his ass when the cameras turned off. When they got him back in that cell, he got his ass whooped by those cops. So yeah, that dude's out of control. So the guy that he went and took the life of wasn't the guy that took his son's life. Yeah, that dude's crazy. That dude's out of his mind. And he looked crazy. By the time you appear in front of a judge after an arrest, it's kind of been a while after the thing. Well, his was pretty quick because of the circumstance, but dude still like he was angry. Yeah, he's like a pretty big dude too, so it might take a few cops to whip his ass, but he got his ass whipped. Guarantee. I promise you that. Verge, thanks for the follow. Coco said the QR leaders to send the ones they like to get the message out. Well, which leaders you talking? Any leader you can name. We got their message. Are we following it is the question. Because if you can name them, that means we heard them, right? So we know what they said. Malcolm X said, what other community is sending baseball players and singers to go talk about serious subjects? Nobody. Malcolm X said it. Now, Malcolm X lost his life, but he said it. We heard it. And look what we're doing. We sent Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce to tell us who to vote for. And LeBron James. So we ignored the message. It's not that we didn't get it. We just ignored the message. Ant said, Cardi not black. No, no. Isn't she? Well, I think she's half. Is she half black, half Latin? The point is she was put out there as a way of reaching the black, quote unquote, black community because she's from hip hop. HDL says, speaking 100% facts, maybe our people will listen to you. No, probably not. But I won't say that I didn't try. So Lauren Fenton said Taylor Swift isn't very vocal about who she votes for. Well, Taylor Swift came out for the last election and she supported Kamala, and everyone was all excited, like, "Oh my God, all these Taylor Swift! She has 1 billion fans. No way Trump can win." Saw how that worked out. Coke Dizzle said that is not why they chose Cardi B. Okay, so why they choose Cardi B? Like I said, you might have lost me at allegedly. So anything that hasn't been adjudicated in court, we have to legally. It's allegedly. So the black kid stabbed the white kid in Texas allegedly. They still got to go to court. Everyone gets their day in court in America. Kanisha said the music artists don't have their masters. That's how they would own it. Yes, that's the exact point that I was making, Kanisha. And someone came in talking about Jay-Z owns this and that. Y'all believe everything Jay-Z says in the song? You believe Jay-Z lost 92 bricks and he made it all back in 5 days? I'm skeptical. HDL, appreciate it. Lacey said she's morally wrong. I don't support her having GoFundMe, but I think Carmela's is ridiculous too. Okay, again, I told you I really don't care about the moral argument. I understand that many of you do, but I don't. I just like to go off of what actually happened. Whether it's morally right or wrong, we still got to deal with it. Judged by One said Cardi B, Jay-Z, Beyonce have large masses, so politicians know who to go to lead the masses. Yes, I think I said that. Lacey said nobody deserves to have their information doxxed. Well, Lacey, I got good news and bad news for you. Number one, I get the sentiment of what you're saying, but number two, all of our information has already been doxxed. It's just that there's not enough people who care enough to expose you that your information hasn't gone viral. But every single one of you who's listening to me right now, you have a social media account, all your information has already been doxxed. You just don't know about it. And there's not enough people who are trying to hurt you to where they'll share your information. But if you did something and you were in the news and a bunch of people were mad at you, you will find out how easily you could be doxxed too. Everybody who's listening to me right now, all your information is already out. You have no privacy. As soon as you sign up for a social media account, you sign away your privacy. So none of you have privacy. It's just that nobody cares enough to expose you. But if somebody decides to care enough, you'll be exposed. Give it 24 hours. I'm talking to everybody. Anonymous said he can still maybe press criminal charges for disorderly conduct. Who? Who are you talking about? Shay said, are you a Trump supporter? I can never tell by the content. Good. I'm glad that you can never tell because this is not a politically leaning thing that I'm doing here. I'm just talking about things objectively as I see them. It's not about me supporting any political candidate. And to answer your question, no, I'm not a supporter of any political candidate or any political party, just in case anybody's wondering. I am not MAGA. I am not Democrat. I'm not Kamala. I'm not Trump. I'm not on the left. I'm not on the right. House of Abba said the economy is down, but people probably use diaper money to donate. Probably. You're probably right. Allegedly. Khan said, not a knife is a rumor, not even true. Again, allegedly, he used a knife, but we do know that he stabbed the kid. That we can agree. He did stab the kid. What he stabbed him with, we don't know. That's why we got to go to court. Derek Eric Jr. said, have you written any books? Yes. Today's live is sponsored by my book, Work on Your Game. You can get this at workonyourgamebook.com. Work on your game, then the word book.com. This is laying out my philosophy, where it came from, how it came to be, and why it is what it is to this very day for the professional person. Workonyourgamebook.com. That's one of my books. I've written officially 41 books, but who's counting? George said there's only one race that is a human race. Well, George, I wish everybody agreed with that, but you can keep dreaming. I get what you're saying, George, but keep dreaming. Truly J said, to be honest, this is between a Latin man and a white woman, not even us. What are you talking about? Who's the Latino man? I think the guy on camera they say he was Somalian from what I saw on social media. But again, you can't believe everything you hear on social media, but I think the guy was Somalian. Anonymous said, Carmela case remind people of Daniel Penny. Well, we already had that conversation like 3 weeks ago, Anonymous. It is written, said, are you educating or are you bashing? What is your modus operandi? I can educate and bash. I'm actually pretty good at doing both. It is written. So I don't have to pick one. You offer me a false binary. And also I can pick a whole bunch of other things that you didn't present there in your logically fallacious framed question. Like I said, everybody thinking with emotions, both men and women. On racial topics, that's pretty much how it goes, Lala. It is written, said, I should be able to tell what this convo is about within 2 minutes. You are just sarcastic. You should? According to who? Who set those rules? It is written, I don't know who told you that those are the rules around here. Any rules that happen over here are made by me, not made by you. So I suggest you start your own live when people can tell what it's about within 2 minutes. I would guess within one, you wouldn't have any audience, but you can prove me wrong. Ant said, where are you located? South Florida. My hometown is Philadelphia, PA, but I am based in South Florida now. Andrew P said 1488 is an Aryan Brotherhood thing. Okay, I didn't know about that. Adam said controversy sells. That's right. No, that's why the media is the media. If they can make you feel like something's controversial and get you excited about it, then you'll pay attention. You pay attention, they can make money. We are in a capitalistic society, folks. People focus on what can help make them money. That's what the media does. Shay said, how did you get where you at today? What was your background? Shay, that's a very deep question. I can give you a 30-second answer. I can also tell you to get my book. It sponsors today's stream, workonyourgamebook.com. This will give you a whole lot of my background and where I'm from. But to give you a short answer, I come from the city of Philadelphia, now based in South Florida. My background is in sports. I played professional basketball overseas for 9 years. Then I started putting content on the internet around 2005. It was mostly basketball stuff for basketball players from 2005 to 2015. Around 2010, I started talking about mindset, like discipline, confidence, mental toughness, kind of stuff you need in sports. People who didn't play sports heard me talking about mindset and said, hey, this stuff applies off the court as well as it applies on the court. So then I realized I could serve people who didn't play sports with the mindset stuff that I got from sports. That's where the whole work on your game philosophy came from, because it's not relegated to just playing sports. Then in between 2010 and 2015, I started to learn about business because I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur after sports. I knew I didn't want to work a regular job. I knew that because I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki back in college through a network marketing experience I had back then. Then I read a book called The 4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss around 2008. Those planted the seeds for me being more going in the entrepreneurial route. I just didn't know how or where or when. Then social media became a thing around that 2007 time when you could just put yourself out on the internet, which I was already doing. Then I had an audience and I started selling products to them, starting with the basketball players. Then I started talking about mindset stuff, mindset products. Then I started writing books. My first book came out in 2010. In 2015, at this point, I had a solid enough business education that when I stopped playing basketball, I became a full-time entrepreneur, which I've been for the last 10 years. So that's where I came from. And now my company is called Work on Your Game. So this book is, again, one of our signature books. It's literally the name of my company, Work on Your Game. You can get this book at workonyourgamebook.com again. And that's when I started working with, in 2015, I started working with people who were not athletes on things like mindset, on business, on building a brand, on doing things like writing books. And over time, I just learned more and more and more about business. I have the ability to articulate and explain what I know. Hopefully, I'm displaying that to you all right now. And over time, I just started working with people in different sectors and just found the sweet spot, which right now is working with professional service-based entrepreneurs. So these are people in finance, people who have law practices, people who are in accounting, people who are in coaching, people in consulting, people who are financial advisors. I work with people who are in the service-based businesses. So I have personal trainers, I have coaches, I have speakers. Anybody who does any type of service for your professional business, those are my ideal target people to work with. And we do that through our Work on Your Game program/system, which is based around mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. So Shay, hopefully that answers your question. Now, if you want a 2-hour version of that, then you can. I got a lot of material on the internet. Why Tony said divide and conquer. It is needed for success in capitalism. Okay, interesting perspective. I didn't think about that one, but you might be right. Sean, thank you for the follow-up. Why Tony said division is a part of the reason we are a power country. That's probably right. Blue, if it bleeds, it leads. That's right. Why Tony said embrace racism is our American culture. Okay, I can understand your perspective. I get where you're coming from. Angelica said, I can't stand a society makes everything about race. We buy it hook, line, and sinker. Well, you kind of answered your own comment in the second half of your comment. The reason why everything gets made about race is because people react to it. Anything that's about race gets people's attention. If you have a conversation about race, you're going to get everybody's attention. So that's why these situations occur. Man of Steel said, I found all your lives that I've seen interesting. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Trotsky Horton said, who are you? Well, I just answered that. Hopefully you heard that. Money Mars said, do you consider yourself a stoic? I never even gave myself that label, but I would I wouldn't reject it if someone said I was. I am generally more stoic than most, and I have read Louis Seneca's book called Letters from a Stoic, one of my favorite books. So I probably am, but I never called myself that anymore. Birdie said we have to hold each other accountable, and specifically those who represent us in society. Yes, good luck. Is what I say to that, Birdie. Good luck. That's the whole point. Jennifer said, not all MAGA, most of us are normal. Yes, it was exactly what I said. We can't lump the whole group into any one thing. So a bunch of you are asserting that it was a different cop. So this guy just went off a random cop because he was mad about what happened to his son. Yeah, that's crazy. Truco said, there's black in military and popos. Why can't they rep black folks? Who are you talking about? Who's they? Fast and Curious said, wish we could see it on camera. See what on camera? Rubdak said, a random cop who was directing school traffic. Yo, that dude's, yeah, dad's crazy. Lee and Lisa said, Dems have played dirty for a long time. Yes, they have, especially since Trump came along. They've been playing real dirty. Daniel said, if everyone done things like you, we would live in a much better place. Well, I appreciate the compliment. Juno said, are you suggesting Trump is a good man? So here's straw man number 2 of the day. None of you ever have to ask if I'm suggesting something because I don't suggest things. I will directly tell you. So that's my answer to your straw man question. Nice try, though. Angelica said, plus there was an assassination attempt against Trump. Talk about playing dirty. Yes, exactly. I mean, I don't know if they did it, but all the things that happened to Trump in 2024, we can't say that the Democrats don't play dirty. They did a whole lot of dirt. And again, what they do to the J6ers, whether you agree with Trump or not, they did not get, y'all want to talk about due process? They did not get due process. Ryan said, Trump made himself look bad calling Georgia begging for 11K more votes, allegedly, Ryan. And it depends on the way you want to frame what he was saying, because there's different ways and different contexts in which to look at that. So let me address it because I'm sure somebody's going to comment on this. He said, find me the 11K votes. According to documents, I think we generally agree that he did say that. But you could look at that in one context, find me votes, i.e. go create votes that don't exist. That's one way you could say he was saying it. The other way is there's 11K votes that did happen, but they're hiding them. So I want you to go find the votes that they're hiding that already exist. So you look at it as he's saying create the votes, or he's saying go find the votes that they have disappeared. So either, depending on which way you look at that, he could be innocent or he could be guilty. But we all know that all of that fell apart. Therese said Trump should not have committed crimes. Well, okay. Fair enough. Mr. D. Clay said, you are absolutely tap dancing for white issues. What's a white issue, Mr. D. Clay? Name the white issue that I'm, quote unquote, tap dancing for. It's so funny to me, people say this, I'm tap dancing for a white issue when you're the one who works for a white person. But I'm tap dancing for a white issue. I own my business. I have no white bosses. How about you? But I'm tap dancing for white people. But black people say, I get comments like that from black people like every day. I get a comment from a black person who says, I'm doing something to appease white people when I work at a black-owned business, while they are saying this from their job at Taco Bell. But I'm the one tap dancing for white people, of course. Princeton Feed said, GOP did the same to Obama. You're just an apologist. You know nothing about holding everyone accountable. Well, everybody plays dirty. I mean, politics, Princeton Feed, I've talked about this many times. So I don't know if this is your first time around here, but I've said many times, all of politics is dirty. They're all liars. You should trust none of them. You should never depend on the government. I've said that 50 times on these lives. So somebody put the word cosign in the comments if you ever heard me say those things. I say it about both sides politically. I'm just answering the question that was asked of me when it comes to Democrats need to learn how to play dirty. That's a funny comment when they're the ones who have been playing dirty for the last 10 years. And as far as you know nothing about holding everyone accountable, it doesn't even make any sense. There's no one way to hold everybody accountable. As a matter of fact, it's impossible. All right, some people don't want to be held accountable. There's nothing you can do to make them be held accountable. So your comment seems like based more on emotion than logical, rational thinking. But I appreciate the comment either way. Birdie said, J6 people are 100% innocent. I was there and witnessed 4 vans of Antifa and actors FBI dropped off. Okay, we'll just leave that comment as it is. I don't know if we'll say they're 100% innocent. They did cross a barrier. There was a barrier, Birdie, just to be fair. There was a barrier that said, do not cross this barrier. They crossed the barrier. Now, if you cross the barrier, you just trespassed. Now, should they be in jail for 4 years for that? No. But did they cross the barrier? You can't say they're 100% innocent. They did cross the barrier. Just on that alone, we got to say you get something. You might only get probation for that, or a slap on the wrist, or a fine. But we can't say they're 100% innocent when you cross the barrier. So, where am I? I lost my spot. Okay, I think we're going to get through all the comments here today. Juno said, are you for Trump? What does that even mean? He's not up for election, so how can I be for him? You mean, am I for Trump as the president, as a sitting president? I'm for every sitting president. So I'm for Trump. I was for Biden. I was for, before that was Trump. Before that was Obama. Before that was W. Before that was Clinton. I'm for any sitting president because I live in America. So as long as I'm in America, I, quote unquote, support whoever the president is, because if the president falters, that's going to hurt me. And if the president does well, that helps me, generally speaking. So I'm for anybody who's a sitting president. Michael Smooth said he did right. Who are you talking about? Jennifer said that ended to be a huge joke. Yeah, it did. Daily MAK said, honestly, sending Cardi and Megan and all of them disrespectful to the black community. Well, some black people feel that way, but other black people were excited because that's the only person they're going to listen to. If they didn't send Cardi B, if they sent they sent Dr. Boyce Watkins instead of Cardi B, it would get a lot less attention. And the whole point of doing an interview during the campaign for Joe Biden is we want to get as much attention as possible. So they said, who's going to get us the most attention? Well, Cardi B. If he would have talked to Dr. Boyce Watkins, he would have got like 10% of the audience because not as many people are interested in what Dr. Boyce Watkins might ask Joe Biden. I'm just using him as an example. But any thinking person, a person who's trying to preach and teach intelligence and education is not going to draw as big of an audience as someone who is giving you entertainment. Cardi B is an entertainer. She's not preaching education, intelligence, or intellectual depth because she doesn't have any. But somebody who is preaching that doesn't get as much of an audience because it's not as exciting. That's the way it works. And in the black community, we give more credence to entertainers than we give to educators and informative individuals. That's a cultural issue. That's not an individual issue. It's not about Cardi B. There's always been Cardi B's. It's just that we didn't pay them the type of respect that we pay them now. We pay Cardi B respect when people like her deserve to stay in their box. All right, you're an entertainer. All right, go ahead, sing and dance, and then shut the hell up when it's time for serious conversation. We don't do that. White people do it. Latin people do it. We don't do it. Let's see. Denise said, messages do not vote, people do. That's true. Highway Trucking said, your info is public information. Exactly. Every one of you's info is public information. It's not enough people trying to make you look bad, so you don't know about it. But it is. All your information is public information. Filthy Mind Game said, topic of the day, what happened? We're talking about a white woman who was at a park in Minneapolis. She said she had a small baby with her, and she said some black kid took something out of her bag, so she started calling the kid the N-word. Somebody turned on the camera and started filming her and said, why don't you say it on camera? She said it again on camera. And then she said, people are attacking me because of that video because it went viral. And she put out a Give Sing Go, and right now she has $500,000 because of that Give Sing Go. So we're talking about, is that okay? Is it not okay? Georgia said, can't blame the person receiving the GoFundMe. Somebody's contributing to it. Yeah, pretty much. Jennifer said, I'm MAGA. Shout out to the MAGA people who are openly standing on MAGA. For a while, I didn't hear anybody say they were MAGA, but then when the election happened, we realized that there was a lot of them. Birdie said, too many people only want to align with and work together based on political party versus social issues. That is also true. Denise said, he is right. They do not need access to something to get access to when you sign up for their... Yeah, they got everything. They got everything. C. Lumpkin said, do you vote? I did a whole live on voting maybe a week before the 2024 election and told people who to vote for and why. And I wasn't actually endorsing a candidate. Most important thing you got to vote for is yourself. What that means is do not depend on the government. I don't care who the president is. Trey said, who got beat worse, the Rockets or the cop killer? The guy who took off the cop, he got beat the worst. Birdie said, weapon use is irrelevant. He bought a deadly weapon to a verbal conflict. Yeah, well, we'll see. Allegedly, Birdie, allegedly. Prince Defeat said, subscribing to a political party is the dumbest thing you can do. Probably. Dior said, you're a very intelligent young man. Dior and Gucci French Bulldogs. All right, thank you for the compliment. Daniel, love your content, need to drop. Thanks, Daniel. Erica said, I thought you were an attorney, LOL, but I love the journey. Yeah, a lot of people think I'm a lawyer. I only play a lawyer on TikTok. I'm not actually a lawyer. But shout out to the lawyers out there. Georgia said, enjoy your lives. Thank you. Rodney said, "What is your name?" My name is Dre, D-R-E. My last name is Baldwin. You can see my name right here on the cover of my book that sponsors today's show. WorkOnYourGameBook.com is where you can get this book. My name is Dre, D-R-E. My last name is Baldwin, B-A-L-D-W-I-N. No relation to the actor who shot somebody on the set. Not that guy. He's white anyway. Angela said, "I think your sons are very lucky if you do, in fact, have sons." Oh, thank you. Georgia said, "We make it about race." Yes, everybody makes it about race. And that works. I mean, if you want to get a lot of attention, just make a subject about race. So any of you want to get a bunch of attention for anything, just make it about race. You'll get a lot of attention. Or make it about Donald Trump. He's also a good tool. Race will always work because everybody always has a race. Donald Trump comes and eventually Donald Trump will be gone. But race will always be around. Mangala said, "Random, but you the GOAT, bro. You should watch your videos all the time on YouTube. Hope all is well. Appreciate you, sir." Shout out to people who used to watch my basketball videos on YouTube back in the day. So Ronnie said, "My understanding is it was the same cop." So Ronnie, I've had probably about 20 people in here say it wasn't the same cop. It was just some random other cop. He was just looking for a cop, and he just shot a cop. That's what I've heard about 20 people say that so far. Mr. Ohio J said, "This has become my favorite. I truly enjoy your outlook and point of view on real issues. Appreciate you, sir." James Collins said, "Dre is cold." Thank you. So a bunch of you co-signed that. A bunch of y'all have heard me say that about politics. I have no political affiliation. DR said, "Yeah, such great understanding. Very glad I caught this live." Me too. Joe just said, "Some J6 said they were out there 4 years with no trial." Yeah, they were. They only had to say it. We know they were. We know they were locked up for 4 years. When they got arrested, it was announced on the internet that they got caught, that they got arrested, excuse me, because some of them got arrested that day and a bunch of them got arrested after the fact when they went and did the investigation after Biden took office. But a bunch of them were arrested and put in jail, and they didn't even have a trial. They were just sitting there. So for Trump to come and pardon them and let them out, I think is completely acceptable. The way that they were dealt with. Now, they had been given a speedy trial in the normal due process, and they went to jail for like something that was the punishment fitting the crime. I would say, okay, they got to do their time. But for what they did and the way they were handled, it was completely fair to me for Trump to pardon them. And that's not a MAGA talking point. It's not a Republican talking point or a Trump supporting talking point. That's a simple reality that had it been on the other side, the same thing would be true. That everyone is entitled to a speedy trial and proper due process. The J6ers did not get either one. And even if you don't like Trump, you would have to admit that if we're talking logically and rationally. Reciprocal tariff said April 2024 border crossing 128K, 2025 9,000. Yeah. And nobody talks about that. That is very true. Yvonne said that was uncalled for. What are you talking about? What do I do? Mike said, "Speak for yourself on that one. I don't pay these entertainers any mind at all." Again, I'm not saying every individual person, of course. The thing is, we as a group have made them popular. The reason that they make the money that they make is because we pay a lot of attention to them. Somebody's buying their music. Somebody's streaming that album. Reciprocal tariff said, "Educated voters is what we need." Well, reciprocal tariff, define educated. These days, a lot of people throw this word out, educated, but what does that mean? In my experience, I'm not saying this is you, but in my experience, when I hear somebody saying educated, usually what they mean is people who think the same way that they think. So many of you listening to me right now, if you agree with me, you probably say, "Hey, this guy, Dre, is educated." But if you disagree with me, you'll probably say, "I'm not educated." What's the difference? I could still be educated whether we agree or not. I'm just educated and I have a different perspective from you. Most of the time, though, when people throw out that word educated, what they mean is that we agree. And that's a misuse of the term. So I would just suggest to all of you, be careful using that word. Because that's the way I read it whenever I hear somebody say that. Even if you're complimenting me, I get what you're actually saying. Why Tony said, "Do I think this is LeBron last year?" No, he'll be back. Ricky said, "How do I get you on an interview for my YouTube channel?" Send me a direct message on TikTok. My assistant is watching the DMs and she will send you her email. And then you can go ahead and schedule it via email. Just send me a DM. Ricky Manor. GG said they tried to overthrow the country. I don't know about that one, GG. How many people was it? I think last I looked, 1,500 people got arrested for or charged for J6. Some of them got misdemeanors. Some of them went to jail. It was 1,500 people. How are 1,500 people with no guns going to overthrow the country? So, yes, that's what they said on CNN. But come on. You can't overthrow the country with no guns. and 1,500 of them. And how you gonna overthrow the country by going after Congress? How is that gonna overthrow the country? You probably need some bullets if you're gonna overthrow the country. So Gigi, I get what you're saying, but no, stop it. Clark Griswold said, "Are you an attorney?" No, I'm not. I just play one on TikTok. I did a series on my podcast. And by the way, I'll tell you about that too. I have a podcast. I call it a masterclass. Most of y'all refer to these as podcasts. I have a podcast that comes out every single day. Can y'all guess the name of it? Work on your game. Comes out every single day. You can find it on Apple, Spotify. Those are the usual suspects. Apple, Spotify comes out every day. Every episode is about 20 to 30 minutes long. It is not as long as this. There's no live interaction. It's just me talking for about 20 or 30 minutes. And this one is more evergreen stuff. So if y'all like the current events, that's what I do here. My evergreen stuff, where I'm talking about business and mindset and entrepreneurship and personal development and leadership and communication skills, that's this. That's my podcast. Comes out every single day. You can find it on Apple, Spotify. I'm bringing all that up to say that I did a series. It was based on TikTok, as a matter of fact. So shout out to TikTok. I did a series, episode 3201 and 3202, how to be a lawyer on the internet. And lawyer, I put in quotation marks, how to be a lawyer on the internet. I did a 2-part series about this because when I started doing these lives on TikTok, I started doing these lives only about 9 months ago. So those of you who are new, I started doing these lives around August of last year. So August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, 10 months ago. So 10 months ago, I started doing these lives, and I'm in this setting and people see the bookshelf behind me. I'm in a suit, and I suppose because of my ability to articulate, people assumed that I was a lawyer. So every day somebody would ask me if I was a lawyer. On these lives, every day somebody would leave a comment like, "Yo, are you a lawyer?" And I kept saying no. And I thought, what can I do with this? Why do people keep asking me this question? So I started thinking about it. And that's when I came up with this series, How to Be a Lawyer on the Internet. And I just explained what are some of the attributes that I was displaying that caused people to assume that I was a lawyer. So I'll tell you what they are. Y'all should listen to it so y'all can hear me explain it. Number one, wear a suit. Now, if you're not in a suit, they're not going to think you're a lawyer. The lawyers wear suits. Number two, you got to be articulate because lawyers usually can explain themselves well. Number three, you got to be able to understand details of things and explain details, which I do. I guess I do it pretty well, which is why I got that guess. Number four, you got to be willing to answer questions, even when people confront you, because lawyers are usually good at arguing with people. I'm pretty good at arguing with people, so I like taking questions. Number five, be very logical and aim for objectivity, which is what a lawyer has to be objective. And number six, find a way to always be right. That was a tongue-in-cheek one, but it's also true. Lawyers usually know what they're talking about. So that's how you be a lawyer on the internet. So you want to know if I'm a lawyer? No, I'm not. But I have many of the traits, I guess, of a lawyer. Everything except a law degree, and I have not passed the bar. So I got everything you might think a lawyer has, except what a lawyer actually needs, which is a law degree and a passed bar exam. I have neither one of those and have no intention of getting them. So shout out to the actual lawyers out there. And shout out to me, the TikTok lawyer. Georgia said, you keep people guessing concerning your political stance, which is a good thing. Yes, Georgia, that's important because if I came out here and said I'm MAGA, then a bunch of people who hate MAGA would never listen to me. And if I came out and said I'm Democrat, then a bunch of people who are MAGA or conservative would never listen to me. And I'm not even keeping you guessing. I have no political affiliation. I'm not keeping you guessing. I have no political affiliation. I don't care about the Democrats or the Republicans. I do not depend on the government. I do not trust the government. All politicians are liars. Okay, so here's my 51st time saying that, so everybody heard me. I do not care about either political party. I do not trust either political party. They are all liars. The government is too big. We're supposed to have small, limited government. The government's only role is to protect our human rights, not give us rights, but protect our human rights and stay the hell out of our business. We should have a much smaller government than we have. The government is way too big. It's too bloated. They waste a whole bunch of our money and they waste a whole bunch of our time. I don't trust any of them. And as soon as you get into politics, you have to become a liar to be successful. That's why I'm not a politician. So I'm going to do a whole live on that, why I'm not a politician. And one of the points is you got to lie. You got to lie to be a politician. So if y'all think Trump lies, he does. Obama lied. Biden lies. Clinton lied. George W. Bush lied. They all lie. Kamala lied. They all lie. They're all liars. That's how you feel about the government. Well, that's how I feel about it. So the Breedlove family said, what was the purpose of J6? They wanted to get their point across to the people who make the laws, which is the people at the Capitol building, also known as Congress. They wanted to get their point across because people were very upset about what they think happened in the 2020 election. And social media wasn't enough of a point. So they went down to DC to make their point directly in people's faces, which is nothing wrong with that. Now, should they have breached the what was it? The not the border, but there's a word. The guardrails that said do not cross this guardrail. Should you have done that? Probably not. Not if you don't want to go to jail. If you don't want to go to jail, you probably shouldn't cross a line that says don't cross this line. They cross the line, you get arrested, you get a misdemeanor, you get a fine. Maybe you go to jail for a month. But what they ended up getting was way bigger than what they actually did. So the point of J6, to answer your question, Breedlove family, was to get their point across to the lawmakers, which I think they did effectively. They got their point across, and the lawmakers got their point across by sending them to jail for 3 or 4 years. So again, equal and opposite reaction. Now, I think the reaction was bigger than the action. The jail sentences were bigger than what these people did, which is why I said it's okay for Trump to pardon them. So it all makes sense, does it not? Mike said a case of race supporting their own, even though a child was called a slur. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, fair. Gigi said, I saw them. You were smart but delirious when you said they didn't try to overthrow the country. Gigi, how can you overthrow the country with no guns and 1,500 people? It's 330 million people in America. How can you overthrow a country of 330 million with no guns? Explain to me how that's possible. You know something that I don't know. Matter of fact, let's ask ChatGPT. Let's ask ChatGPT, how can you overthrow a country? I'm doing a live stream on TikTok, and someone says that the people on January 6th tried to overthrow the country. Period. From what I understand, there were 1,500 people arrested, and they had no guns. Period. So please explain to me how you can overthrow a country of 330 million people with no guns and only 1,500 soldiers. Be specific. All right, so I'm asking ChatGPT to explain how you can overthrow the country with 1,500 people. So they say, number one, overthrow doesn't necessarily mean a military style takeover. So if you mean this colloquially, what they're saying is you're just trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power, which is, I think, even Trump, you could say, was trying to do that because he didn't believe he had lost. Which is, he believed he didn't win. He didn't lose. He believed he won. Strategy was political chaos, not armed conquest. Yes. Were they looking to create chaos and make their voices heard? Yes, they were. Did they do it? Yes, they did. No guns, but there was violence, as I said. There was violence, but there were no guns. Again, you can't overthrow a country with no guns. And danger wasn't the numbers. It was in the timing and location. Again, which I said, that's the whole point. They did it in D.C. at the Capitol building because they wanted you to notice it. That was the whole point. And the government called it, they have avoided labeling it an insurrection or a coup in formal terms, but the media called it an insurrection. It's not an insurrection. And they called it seditious conspiracy. That's what prosecutors have called it, seditious conspiracy. Attempted to overthrow or oppose the government by force, which I disagree with that. I believe they overcharged them. That's the reason why I'm okay with the pardon. So that answers the question. They called it seditious conspiracy, which means you're trying to overthrow a government by force, which is nonsense. How are you going to do it with no guns? How are you going to overthrow a government with no guns? That doesn't make any sense. So Mike said, better call Saul. Yeah, exactly. DR said, you don't need one. You're natural at it. Well, yeah, I'm natural at doing this, but DR, I can't take on a client for a legal case because I don't have legal clearance. But I could do this. I could be TikTok lawyer forever. So shout out to all y'all who like me being a TikTok lawyer. And Michelle said, I worked for them for 15 years. Most are overrated. LOL. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of lawyers. I know a lot of lawyers. I have some lawyers as clients. So I'm not saying they're overrated, but I get what you're saying. And from what I understand, Michelle, please co-sign this. From what I understand, being a lawyer is a whole lot of paperwork. It's not like you're like Law and Order on TV. It's not like you're running around catching bad guys and solving cases every day. You're doing a whole lot of paperwork and you're reading briefs, and it's actually a lot more boring than it looks on TV. So I'm not interested in that kind of job. If I was actually a lawyer, I couldn't be doing this. I'd probably be reading documents right now and going to court for pre-trial motions and all that bullshit. I'm not interested in that. James Collins said, Dre Baldwin, TTL. Yeah, TikTok lawyer. Yeah, so I see a bunch of you agree with that. Thank you. Gigi said, nobody likes Trump. He lies every time he opens his mouth. I don't know if we say nobody, Gigi. Did you see the 2024 election? Denise said, explain in details, be able to answer questions, find a way to be right. Which one is missing? No, I gave you 6 points. You missed a couple of them. Number one, wear a suit. Number two, be articulate. Number three, explain in detail. I forgot all the points myself. That's why I gave you the episodes. Episode 3101 and 3201 and 3202 on my podcast. The Breed Love said, because people died. On January 6th, no, they didn't. The news lied to you. Nobody died on January 6th. Daniel Daryl says, "Ask it how you overthrow the country behind the scenes like Donald Trump tried to. How can one person overthrow the country? Uh, obviously, he failed. Obviously, he failed, right?" So Michelle says, "Actually, the paralegals do the paperwork. They just don't make their salary." So what's the lawyer doing, Michelle? What's the lawyer doing all day? You say you work for lawyers for 15 years. What does a lawyer spend their day doing? So the paralegals do all the paperwork. So that might actually intrigue me to go get a law degree. If I ain't got to do the paperwork, then I might be interested. Pumpkin said, "It's such a bad word. Why use it at all?" Because they're trying to make them look bad. That's the whole point. They're trying to make them look bad. That's why they call it an insurrection, because it makes it seem like there was this terrible, tragic thing. I don't see it that way. I know some of you see it as a insurrection. I'm not here to try to change your mind. I'm just telling you how I see it. But if you want to believe it was an insurrection, I'm not here to try to make you think differently. I'm not in the business of changing minds. Lawyers don't try to change people's minds. All we do is try to, if it doesn't fit, you must quit. All right, that's what I do. All right, that's my style. So anyway, everybody, work on your game. Book.com. Workonyourgamebook.com is the sponsor of today's stream. Tomorrow, a different book will sponsor the stream. And I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern is when I do these lives. We never go past 10 o'clock. It's 9:59 right now. So if you like this one, come back tomorrow. If you didn't like this one, come back tomorrow so you can get mad again. If you are not sure how you feel about this one, come back tomorrow. What's the topic going to be tomorrow? We don't know. All right, so we will see what the topic is. Depends on what happens in the news. Michelle said the lawyers drink coffee, eat snacks, kick their feet up. They dictate, and we do the paperwork. Oh, actually, shit, I might be a lawyer. All I got to do is tell the paralegals what to do. All right, I might become a lawyer. All right, now, Michelle, you might have changed my mind. Michelle, you want to come work for me? I don't know. Maybe you can be my paralegal. All right, so I got to find me some paralegals because I ain't doing none of the work. But I will go argue some court cases. I will do that. The thing is, I get more attention doing TikTok than I would doing a court case. In court case, you only got the people in court. On TikTok, I got all of y'all from a whole bunch of different places. So I don't know. So Michelle, the offer is out. Do you want to come work for me if I become a lawyer? I got to go to law school first, then I got to pass the bar, and we got to do a lot of things. But I'm offering you. I'm seeing if you're interested in the job opportunity. So anyway, everybody, I will be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Topic is TBD, to be determined. You want to see the replay of this live? It will be on my YouTube channel. The link's in my profile. My Instagram link is also in my profile. You got a question or anything for me, send a direct message. My assistant will see the DMs, and she will get back to you and let you know what we can do, what we can't do, and whatever else you need. I'm just waiting on Michelle to tell me if she wants to come be a paralegal working for me. I'm just waiting for that. Michelle said, "I'm in Michigan. Send me an offer." All right, we'll talk about it. Let me go to law school first, Michelle. And if I pass the bar, then we'll talk about it. All right, everybody. I will see y'all tomorrow morning. Everybody have a great Monday. Work on your game. We out of here. Thank you to my moderators as well.